friends, welcome back to my channel and happy Money Monday. I hope you've had an amazing weekend. I hope you are feeling refreshed and recharged and ready to face this new week, which if you're here in the US, it will be a short week before Thanksgiving. So let's go ahead and jump into today's Money Monday topic. We are talking about 5 ways you can cut your spending right now. Let's get started. Okay friends, so whether you are like just getting started, following Dave Ramsey's baby steps, or you're just wanting to clean up your finances, figuring out ways to cut your spending is so important. So if you are starting baby step 1 and you need to put away that $1,000 emergency fund and you're trying to figure out where in the world you're going to get any extra income from because it looks like things are super tight, then this video is for you. If you are in the middle of baby step number 2 and you're trying to dig your way out of debt, it is so important to always evaluate your spending and find new ways to cut corners and to save on spending. And if you are in baby steps 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7, you may want to also figure out ways to save more money, ways to put money towards the things that you really want to be doing rather than on just excess spending. So I'm excited to share these tips with you guys today. These are tips that my husband and I use on a regular basis in order to save money and figure out how we can cut spending in little ways that might be hidden in your budget. So let's get started. The very first thing, this is actually not one of the 5 tips, but the first thing that I would encourage you to start with is evaluating your budget. If you don't have a budget, start a budget. Everydollar.com is amazing. It's a great way to see where your money's going, what you're spending it on, how much you should be spending on what category. You can break it down by percentages. It is really an excellent resource to figure out your budget. If you're not so much of like an Everydollar fan or like really kind of an app user, do an Excel spreadsheet. Do it the old-fashioned way. Put it on pen and paper. Whatever it is that works for you, you have to figure out where your money's going, and then you can figure out how to cut corners and save some money. So let's get started. Tip number 1. Tip number 1 is to do a pantry, fridge, and freezer purge. What this is basically going through your food storage. Wherever you have food stored, go through that and use up that food. You guys, this is something that I'm going to be doing in December because our food storage right now is crazy. I will admit I love going to the grocery store. It's something that I have like inherited from my mom because she's the exact same way, but there's just something so like domestic and just like motherly, maternal, like just a really good, happy, feel good emotion comes from getting bags of groceries. And so I love to go to the grocery store. I don't actually love going into the grocery store, but I love buying groceries and knowing that there's groceries in our food storage ready to go for my family. But the problem that comes with that is that I tend to go to the grocery store every week and I buy the things that we need, but I also buy a lot of like little extras. They fit within our budget, but they're not necessarily things that we need. So I end up with a lot of like extra food that we haven't eaten. Not necessarily that it's gone bad, but things that are like stored in our freezer or in the pantry, just kind of waiting to be eaten. So this is a great thing that I'm going to be doing in December is going through our fridge, pantry, and freezer and eating as much of that food as we possibly can. Really just using that as like our main ingredients for our meal plans throughout the month of December. And the great thing about this is that you will reduce the amount of food that you have in your storage, but it also will save you money on your grocery budget. So that is really the goal, is to cut some money out of your grocery budget by doing this fridge, pantry, and freezer purge meal plan. So do that. You can do it for 1 week, you can do it for 2 weeks, you can do it for a whole month like I'm going to try and do in December. But whatever it is that you do, put away that money that you would be going to the grocery store and spending and use that whatever step that you're on, whatever your financial goal is, use that extra money that you didn't spend at the grocery store that week or that month on that financial goal. So that will really help you, and it will also help to see how much food your family actually does need and where you can cut back on your grocery budget. So tip number 2 is to use cash. This one can be a little bit hard, and it's honestly just such a it's such an like an anti-social kind of a concept. It's not something that we do very much in our culture. These days in the US is spending cash. Most people pull out their cards to pay for everything. It's weird when you see someone pull out a wad of cash to buy something, but it's something that is so great for your finances. As Dave Ramsey tells us, if you listen to his podcast, read his book, go through Financial Peace University, spending cash is hard. It's actually like an emotional purchase versus when you just have a card and you're at the grocery store and you're like, oh, I'm $10 over, oh well, I'll just slide my card and just figure it out later. I'll just pull it from some other budget. When you have that $100 in cash and that's all you can spend, if your total comes to $102, you don't have anything else. You have to hand over cash. So use cash, and that will help to cut down on how much you're spending extra. It's really, really important to really stick to that budget, and especially if you're just getting started on your budget, it's so easy to just flex it up and down when you're using a card. But when you have cash, you have to stick to it. That's really all that you have available to you. So I would encourage you, if you are trying to take this challenge seriously, if you're trying to get your finances in line and you haven't done so before, use cash. Leave your debit card at home. If you're going to the grocery store, pumping gas, things like that, use cash for it, and you will see such a huge difference in your budget. Hey guys, so it is several hours after I had already filmed most of this video, and I was editing and realized I lost some footage. Yes, it happened. So this little guy is joining me, and we're talking about tip number 4. So tip number 4 is the 24-hour rule. So whenever you're going to purchase something that I have adopted in my life is giving it 24 hours. I see this tip a lot of different places, but it is such a good one. So if you see something that you want to purchase or that you're thinking about purchasing, give yourself 24 hours to sleep on it. Go home, sleep on it, talk it over, make sure that it's the right item to purchase, number 1, that it's in your budget, number 2, and that it's something that you truly need, not just a want. If it is a want and it's something that you're just using like your fun money on, you may still want to use the 24-hour rule just to make sure that what you're spending that personal money on is something that is really worth the money. So that's the 24-hour rule. I highly suggest that you just take that up as well. With these tips, it's super, super helpful, and it really helps you to make clear, concise decisions and not just bring home more things that are just taking up space. It helps you to be more mindful, I think, when you're making purchases. Alright, so if you wake up thinking about that item and have decided that it does work for what you want, it works in your budget, it fits well into your life, then go ahead and go back and purchase it. But pausing 24 hours really gives you an opportunity to evaluate if you do need it, if it is a need and not just a want. So I encourage you to adopt the 24-hour rule, whether you do it, like I said, you just leave the item there in the store and come back 24 hours later, or you pick it up and then just wait on it and decide 24 hours later if you do truly need it. And the 5th tip that I have to share with you guys today is something that I heard on Dave Ramsey, something that I'm calling the double or nothing rule. And what I heard was someone called in to do their debt-free scream or on the Millionaire Hour. It was a few months ago. It was before I went on maternity leave, but this caller was saying that they had learned how to be frugal and how to save money from watching their grandfather. And what their grandfather did was he had a rule that if he couldn't afford to pay for an item twice, he did not buy it. So I call this the double or nothing rule because for me, what it means is if we don't have the money to buy double of that item, then we don't have the money to buy one of those items. Now, this can seem like a little bit of an extreme, but it really is for like those luxury purchases. It's for things like, we want to buy a new TV. Well, if we don't have the money to buy 2 of them, then we can't really afford one of them. And for me, this has really just changed my perspective on what it means to afford an item. Just because the money is in your bank account or just because you can squeeze your budget a little bit to make it work for that item doesn't mean that you can truly afford the item. It's just like what my husband and I tell a bunch of students when they ask us about cars or they mention wanting to buy a car. We say, well, it's not just the purchase of a car that you have to worry about because they'll put aside, say $800, $1,000, $2,000, but we remind them it's the purchase of gas every time you have to fill up that car. It's the insurance costs each month. It's, XYZ maintenance, oil changes, all that good stuff that goes along with owning a vehicle. So again, this is something that just kind of goes back to mindfulness and figuring out if you truly need something and if you can truly afford something. Yes, your bank account may say that you have that money available, but is that truly something that you can afford or something that you need? So this is something that I'm excited to really adopt as we move forward into, out of baby step 2 in the next year or so, and really into planning out, big purchases, not just things that are like, $100 or something. But even with that, just because there's $100 in your bank account, does that mean that you can really afford that item? So I like to use this as a good rule for affordability in our lives. So guys, those are the 5 tips that I have to share with you, plus the bonus of creating a budget. I hope they've been helpful to you. I would love to know what your #1 way to cut spending in your budget and in your family is, so let me know in a comment down below. I hope you guys are having a great day, that you have an amazing Thanksgiving and a really blessed week. I'll talk to you soon.